Welcome back to Profiting from Your Passion podcast. This is David Wooten, and I want to talk a little bit about Grant's book, Profiting from Your Passion, because that's where the idea of this podcast came along. And it's about putting energy into your passions to get more out of your life. Not just money. It can be money, but it can be money. It can be what fills your soul. It can be what charges you. It can be what keeps you getting up each morning and working hard. Whatever it is, those things that we do, that we see, that we profit from, that we're better people because of our actions. And, you know, for me, it comes to little acts of kindness are some of the greatest things that we can do to generate a fullness of life. So if you haven't got it already, check out my book, Meeting Homeless Jesus, A Journey from Believing to Knowing. You can get it on Amazon. And with that, that's the end of the sales pitch. We'll get right here to our next guest. Our next guest, this is awesome. This is a young man that I've met, and I'll say young man, even though he might, why I got to be identified as young, but because you know what, he is. And lately I hear a lot of people talking about the youth. Now, Reed's so young, he's not even millennial, he's post-millennial. So what is that, Gen Y?
That's true.
Is that Gen Z? Gen Z.
Yeah.
Something. They're going to have to come up with a new way of naming. But what I see is people in tune with what's going on, and I see more people realizing that all these people on these shows and out there in front of the world, their lives aren't so easy just because they're rich and famous. Their lives aren't so easy just because maybe they have these ideal homes and different things around them. They have a rough time too. And so I see a lot of people looking early in life for the things that are going to fulfill them. And I believe Reed's one of those people. We're going to find out a little more about him right now. So Reed, why don't you tell us about who you are and what you do, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. So I grew up in New Iberia, Louisiana. I went to Catholic school throughout pretty much until I graduated, and then moved to Lafayette, started college. The whole time I was kind of working summer jobs at this beer distributorship that my family owns. And it made it very clear that I didn't want to do labor work. So I decided, I was like, you know what, I should try to get a certification in personal training and like get some experience working with clients and things like that. And at the time I really started developing a passion for it, started getting really excited about fitness and health and exercise and working with people. And of course, like, you know, we have a lot of access to content and ways to grow our knowledge through the internet. And so I was exploring all of it, YouTube and podcasting. I was constantly, you know, receiving information. At the time, I was also an exercise science major. So I was in college.
You said something there that caught me by surprise. I didn't want to do something too physical. So I decided to go into learning about physical training and make that make sense for me.
Okay. So as a personal trainer, I might do like 5 exercises per session, and like it's quick reps, it's lightweight, you know, I'm guiding people through a movement. Whereas if you're distributing beer to, you know, Walmart, you're taking a pallet of 300 cases of beer and you're unloading it into the store, and you're, you know, going in and out of freezers into the hot weather, you're having to dolly beer into gas stations. And so it's a 11-hour day of doing hard labor with, you know, cases of beer that are, you know, 10, 12 pounds each and things like that. So, I mean, you know, that was much more exhausting than personal training is. Personal training, I can conserve my energy. You know, usually it's only the beginning clients who I have to exercise a lot because I kind of have to show them everything.
Right.
But once I teach them good enough, you know, it's like, okay, you know, you can do it on your own. I don't have to show you every time.
Just keep them honest on their form and things like that.
Yeah. I use, one of the main goals is to stay consistent with cues. So I say, okay, squeeze your glutes. Okay, pelvic tilt. Okay, squeeze your shoulder blades back, stick your chest out. And I keep the same consistent cues every time so that whenever I say those cues, they naturally do it. They immediately know what to do. Right. It's like good posture, boom. They immediately know what to do. Whereas at first it's kind of me physically showing them and kind of helping them feel what it.
You say good posture, the first thing I'm gonna.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like
I love it, right?
The same thing happens to me. Right. People tell me that they like come around me and they like immediately, you know, start thinking about their posture more and stuff. It's like I'm not trying to have that effect, but at the same time, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing to have.
When we go visit a friend, my wife tells me, don't say anything. If there's something wrong with the house, just leave it alone. We're here to visit. You know?
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes people go, did you notice something? It's like, that's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm here. So, okay. So you developed an interest, maybe a passion. What drove you towards that field what is it about that field that attracted you? Other than maybe you could make some money on it, or maybe that was the main driver.
No, money's definitely not the reason for it. And I'm learning that more and more. It's becoming real, but prior to that, it was really more about like, I loved learning about it, and I could just, really just watch educational videos all day about exercise. And then I can basically regurgitate all of that onto my social media. Whenever I was young, with my age, I, started getting social media, MySpace, Facebook when I was 11, 12, 13 years old.
Right.
And so really, I've always been very active on social media. I always enjoyed like just putting my interests on there and things like that. Well, whenever fitness and health became my interest, I really just started making videos of me just ranting into a camera and would post that. Right. And eventually, yeah, just kind of kept growing. People would give me advice and be like, hey, Reed, how about you stop moving so much during your videos. Maybe you should prop your phone up on a tripod. Maybe you should have a clear wall behind you rather than like circling around in a yard or something like that. Have a consistent setup for yourself. And eventually I've gotten to the point where I can make relatively high quality videos, not much editing or anything, but they're good enough.
When I was a kid, I can remember my dad, we didn't have social media and all that kind of stuff, but just even watching a movie though, or something that had that movement effect, and him just couldn't stand that. And I was like, why? What's wrong? Why not?
Yeah.
And now, yeah, there's some of those podcasts when somebody's talking or those videos and somebody's talking and they're following themselves and they're doing this, and it's like, okay, I'll just listen.
Yep.
I'll just listen. It's too much to stay, engaged with. But so you got into this. What keeps you? What is it that you see? Do you see something in your clients that feeds you back, that gives you something out of what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, seeing results is a very obvious way of a very obvious answer. Whenever I see the results of my clients,
right,
it feeds me, and it's also inspiring to me whenever I give clients homework and they do it well, right. And then they go on their own time and actually like start making things happen on their own and get a diet coach and they just make moves, and it's inspiring to me to like, wow, okay, there's people who are actually willing to do this. I think it's natural for young entrepreneurs a lot of times to think that I don't want to bother this person. I don't want to charge too much. I don't want to, they don't see the value in their services. And I definitely have struggled with that within the past 4 years of doing this personal training, especially at first. Now I'm starting to get more comfortable with it. I'm like, okay, people want this. Like, this is a good service that I can bring to others. So anyway, I'm getting more confident in it, and I'm learning more about how to communicate it to where people stay exercising. And that's the most rewarding thing for me, when someone stays consistent, especially, I don't want to lose clients, but if a client goes off on their own and they still continue doing all the things that I've taught them, that's super rewarding for me. I want people to grow in knowledge so that they can grow in health. And on that point, I was looking at a study that was studying type 2 diabetes. And so the people who understood the treatment and understood what diabetes was, they had knowledge about the subject, they adhered to the treatment. Okay, where the people who didn't understand, who never did the research, who never asked questions, or just never put in the time to understand their treatment, they ended up adhering at a lower rate. So anyway, whenever I read that was a clear sign to me that give knowledge, so that, make sure that people are receiving this knowledge so that they can actually take it into their own hands and make a difference.
Yeah. When I was really young, maybe even probably younger than you are, probably around 20, 21, I went to a health club and got that 1 day free thing. And they wanted me to change everything about my life, basically,
Oh, yeah.
right? Which was probably good advice, So, but at the same time, it was overwhelming. There was no way I was going to do this, and I was made to feel like if I'm not all in, then I might as well not try. And I heard you talking on a different podcast, actually, with the guy, and you talked about a lady that, basically let you know her limitations. Tell us some about that and how you view, your customers coming in and their limitations and what they can do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said just now, my main goal is for them to actually stick with it. Whereas a lot of trainers, I think they're like, okay, these are all the things that you're doing wrong. Focus on that. Like focus on fixing that. And that's just overwhelming, and it's also, they're not going to adhere to it. Small steps are better.
Not motivating.
It's not motivating. Yeah, I agree. So some clients are naturally self-motivated, whereas others are, more stuck on fads and things like that. So a lot of my goal is to see where they're at, see where their individual person is at, and try to use social skills really and communication skills to really see how they can get to be more consistent. And a lot of that has to do with questions. Like, I need to be a listener. I need to sit back, ask questions, detailed questions, intentional questions, and see what their opinions are about things. Because if they hate running, then giving them homework to go run is probably not that effective. It's probably not the best homework. I could probably do something better with, if they like biking or if they like playing sports. It's like, okay, well, I want you to start, even I play a lot of sports. I can even say, all right, well, I want you to start joining me playing sports, come once a week on Wednesday nights, we'll go play volleyball, and things like that. I try to really dive into their lives, dives into their past and what they've always enjoyed doing. And so that they can enjoy exercise, they can enjoy moving well and things like that.
Do you generally like people?
Yeah. Super extroverted. I get my energy from being around people. If I'm at home by myself for a little bit, usually it's kind of like looking at a wall for a little while. I'm like, okay, let's see who's free.
Yeah. So like the idea of becoming an accountant or something, that probably just
not my thing. Yeah.
Not my.
I gotta be in something that is constantly talking to a team of people. I want to be, I want to have my own team eventually. I want to have, I want to be able to lead people, and I'm leading people right now, but it's kind of like on an individual basis. Everyone is their own situation. Whereas I love the thought of having a team under me that's doing the same thing.
Right. Yeah. John Maxwell talks about the levels of leadership, and level 4 leadership is when you have leaders leading, right? Mm-hmm. You lead leaders that are leading. And then, when you get to level 5, people are following you and they're leading off of you with, you're not even engaged anymore. Right. And not that you don't want to be engaged, you're engaged with your people, but you're just at that level that your leaders are leading leaders. Yeah. Right. And doing that. And that's kind of a great progression to get to. And I think that's an awesome thing to recognize that, early in your business, that it's not just about, this is going to be the Reed Streva, everybody comes in, because you have to develop it differently. Right.
Yeah. For sure.
It's anyway. So tell me a little bit about what else drives you.
I would say spirituality is a big aspect, and you're saying this thing about leadership and how you build leaders and then they go out and they build leaders and then, constantly spreading a message. Right now I'm trying to do the same thing about Jesus. I'm trying to, lead other people to him, so that they can potentially lead other people to him and build a world where we're all striving to live like Jesus. Right?
Striving to live like Jesus. So how do you live like Jesus in your business?
Well, I really just try to be as intentional as possible. When I pull up to a client's house, I'm praying for them. I'm asking God, if there's anything like, please just use me as a vessel right now. And a lot of times it's at 5 a.m. and I'm like, all right, God, I can't communicate with you that well right now, but I want you to use me as a vessel right now. Give me the energy that I need to be the energy for the session. Because, a lot of people, probably 50% of the time, people don't want to work out. And I'm the one who's making them work out. I have to be the energy. I have to be in a good mood. Okay. And a lot of times it's work, and it's like a lot of times I'm in this situation where I'm a little bit less joyful. I'd like to not be there. I'd much rather like be at home taking care of chores that I needed to do or whatever. And you know, I need to take those few moments of silence when I pull up to my client's house. I'm a traveling personal trainer. Pull up to the client's house and just, Lord, give me the energy, give me the focus, and help me to be there for my client, and help me to be a vessel for this, for you, through to my client.
I believe sometimes those tired prayers are some of the most honest, because
Yeah, right.
you know, we don't have the energy to even, you know, make up the worry about the ego or any of that. And it's just like you said, you know, at any time, that's pretty much what we got, right? Lord, please help me, whatever it is, good, bad, or otherwise, please help me get through this. Let me keep the focus where it's supposed to be. Yeah. So that's beautiful. And so in doing that, you know, you talked about that message, getting that message to others. Do you do things outside of work and your personal spiritual life to help you do that?
Yeah, I try to get in a holy hour, maybe once or twice a week. And I like to pray it like in a church, like in a location, and be consistent every time in that location. I like doing that because it's kind of a routine. I'm definitely pretty set on routines and stuff like that. So anyway, I try to set time in my day to prioritize God, because obviously if we don't have something on our schedule, if someone wants to pray more, if somebody wants to work out more and they're not doing it, it's because they're not prioritizing it. A lot of people say they don't have time. No, it's not a priority. You have a priority list called your schedule,
right,
and it's not on it.
Right.
And so my goal is always to make sure I have a period of time that I'm focused on my spiritual health at that time. And sometimes that's even listening to a podcast, or you know, reading the Bible for 5 minutes, and then later on praying a little bit more for 5 minutes. And then some days it's a holy hour. I can fit in a holy hour. So it just kind of depends.
It sounds like it's kind of like your own personal exercise plan. You're able to do a little bit with this customer, and then a little bit with this, and a little bit of that, and you're getting a bunch in throughout a day or a week, or whatever it sounds like, because you know, you got to see all the customers. And I, you know, I can get up in the morning and have a great morning, but if I don't check in a few times during the day, it's not about whether I spent 5 minutes or 2 hours that morning.
Yeah,
it's about whether I stay present the whole day. Like I'll send this out on social media soon. My latest kind of epiphany is that, you know, God is eternal. He's eternal because eternal means always present, always present. And the best opportunity we to have to be close to God is to be always present, always, and do that. And I just think that for me, that's like, it's one of those moments, like it simplifies it in my head, right? It gets all the crazy arguments out, or how do you just be present. Yeah.
And it's difficult, you know, because it's hard to be aware enough to catch on to the fact that you're not being present. It's hard to be aware of the fact that, oh wait, I've been thinking about the future this whole time. Like I'm thinking about a situation that doesn't even exist right now. I'm driving in a car.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of times we just get so zoned out, you know, and we're not taking that moment to be in the present. But just like you said, that's where God's at. That's the only place we're going to find God, is in the present moment. So
in the moment. So you know, the idea of being aware and being present with your business, young entrepreneur. I know a little bit about going into business on my own as well, and it's without a doubt there has been some stress about, is this going to work? Am I doing this right? Am I doing? And what's the future going to hold? The future could be 2 hours from now. It could be 5 years down the road. It could be, you know, how am I going to retire? Whatever it is, right? So how do you, in work, how do you take that lesson from that spiritual life and apply that to you being an entrepreneur and staying in the present and working on the business today?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's definitely a lot of moments where there's like lots of not focus. I'm not focusing on what's the most proactive thing to do in that moment. I'm just stressing about all the different things that could be happening, or that could potentially happen, or you know, maybe are happening in a negative way, but there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm stressing about it. I'm letting it affect my ability to work effectively. So, you know, I definitely try to stay as proactive as possible. Whenever I get really stressed, I have to stop what I'm doing and make a list. what can I do? What are the things that I can take care of right now?
Right.
Everything else, drop it
Yeah.
for right now.
Yeah,
I'll resume it later.
I love that. I've got a friend that what she does is she makes a list of the things for the day, and then she prioritizes that list and circles the top 3, and then puts the others to the side. Right. I'm not even looking at them unless I get these 3 things done. Right. And I know there's a lot of things. I think Dale Carnegie actually teaches a thing on that, on prioritizing like that, doing your most focused items or high priority things first, because I'll have things on my list that eventually they're just not on the list anymore because they really didn't have to be done.
Yeah. That's a great point, and I've experienced that as well. I just haven't thought about it.
Yeah. It's so I see you as a as a entrepreneur. Again, not to beat up on the young part of it, and I mean it as a compliment every time I say young.
No worries. I'm not worried about the fact that I'm labeled as young.
It's I'm not labeled as old by most yet, although I think y'all just are nice to me. But in that, what do you say to your peers? And when I mean peers, people in your age category, not necessarily in the same business or doing the same things as you. Matter of fact, the ones that aren't, what do you say to them to maybe give some advice, or how can you or others help them kind of see the world a little more the way that you see it? I think your perspective is a little more mature than most 23-year-olds.
Yeah, I definitely, there's certain people who I grew up with who don't want to hear anything I have to say, but then there's other people who, who have heard my message on social media and really enjoy it. And a lot of my reach is through social media, because, it started off with people are scrolling to like pass time. Then here I am saying, hey, make your life better now, and so a lot of people have stopped and we're attracted to that message and have continued to follow me and reach out and ask for advice and things like that. And I mean, I guess like for a while I was posting a lot about health things, but as I started to realize more and more, it was like, this isn't the information that's necessary. Improving the mindset is what's necessary. Before you learn as much as you can about health and fitness, these people need to switch their mindset, from allowing all these things that are just, they're extra, they're lanyard. They're not necessary. They're not things that you really need to take care of. Like, some people, I mean, they wouldn't say this out loud, but they prioritize social media more than anything else. Like they'll have work, social media, and that's it, and then all the other things are kind of like small categories after that. It's like, I definitely try to put it out there. Like, hey, you're making the choice to not spend time doing something that's effective for you. And that effort is going to result in you being more joyful. And so I definitely just try to put the message out there. Like, look, it's possible to do all these things. It's possible to be joyful. It's possible to be healthy. You have to make the decision, and you have to take ownership of your decisions, knowing that, this is your choice.
So joy is a choice.
It's always a choice.
Always a choice.
You choose joy.
How do you choose joy?
You choose joy.
Do you just wake up and go, I'm gonna be joyful?
It's a good question. Yeah, kind of. I think so. I mean, we have bad days. There's nothing we can do about that. But there's, like the analogy of the lake where, there's the surface of the lake whenever it's really windy and there's bad weather, the surface of the lake gets very rough. And then the core of the lake is always still though. And the same thing is with us, we can't change the fact that our environments are bad sometimes. Okay, but we can have this inner joy within us that stays the whole time. So that's the goal. Even if things are bad, we still have that inner stillness. And so, I think it's always a choice. You always have to acknowledge, okay, I'm not in a great mood today. Lord, give me that extra boost. Bring me joy. And whenever I'm really stressed out and I'm trying to juggle all these things in my, work or relationships or whatever, I'm trying to juggle all these things. And then I'm walking into the store. The second I walk through that store, I need to switch my mindset and say, put a smile on your face and be joyful.
Yeah.
And I think there is a level to that we can force ourselves to be joyful, even if we're in a time period of sadness or, having issues. And that might not speak for everyone. But I think I've always been able to, maybe not always, but recently I've been more focused on choosing joy specifically because of some content that I've consumed recently.
Yeah, no, I love it personally, and I think it's a choice, or at least moving in that direction's a choice.
Right.
You know, I can't always change the way I feel immediately by saying I choose joy.
Yeah.
Right. But I can choose. There are things that I've learned that I can do. Some of that is centered in faith, being centered in faith. It's a big part of it. But with that is active loving others. Right. So, you know, a customer going in with, as you were talking about, going in with the attitude that you're gonna help them benefit out of your session that day, or you're gonna help them get to a better place. You know, same thing for us with the customer. You go in, and so when the decision is we're gonna make this work, maybe an employee's having trouble with on a job site with a particular task or whatever. I'm not going in there to scold them. I'm going there to try to help them figure out how we're going to get around this and how we're going to come up. And anytime I put that effort into helping others, it seems like that road back to joy is a much easier road.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like loving others is the whole point, right? And like, I mean, that's going to bring us more joy than anything. So and it's the loving thing to do, to choose joy in everything that you're doing and bring a smile to other people's faces. And yeah, I do think it's a choice to go through your day, even if you're in a tough time period, to be able to be joyful around others and kind of spread joy. And, you know, of course, Jesus and he wants us to be joyful. And so if we ask him for that help, he's going to give it to us. And, you know, we just have to stay on that mindset. There's a book called Daily Guide to a Joyful Life. And that's, you know, that was a really good one. And that's why I'm using the term joy so much.
That's why, because
I recently got done with it. Yeah.
And it's had some impact on you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's reemphasized a lot of the points that, you know, we should be choosing joy.
And I like that. So yeah, keep reading, keep learning, is all part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, look, I want to give you first an opportunity to tell people how, if they're looking for a personal trainer and they just even want to interview you or find out more about you for that, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so I'm pretty active on social media. LinkedIn is Reed Streva, Facebook is Reed Streva Fitness, Instagram is the Reed Streva, YouTube is Reed Streva Fitness, email is reedstreva@gmail.com. Really, if you spell my name right, everyone should be able to find me. I'd say so.
So spell your name right.
So spell my name right on the episode. Everyone should be able to find me.
Okay, well, there. Spell it right for us right now.
REED space STREV as in Victor A. Streva.
One E.
Wait, you put two E's.
I put two E's, so there you go.
All right. I'm glad you changed it.
My name is spelled wrong more often than it's spelled right. So
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I want to wrap this up a little bit. First of all, thank you for being here. And I want to hit this first time I've done this, and I've thought about it a few times, but I want to hit a couple of things that I think you pointed out. And you talked about doing a holy hour once or twice a week, a few times a week, spending some time focusing on yourself. And I think for me that goes into not just our spiritual life, but also my work life. I know I need to spend some time thinking about the business away from the business, you know, the no phone calls, no doing that, and being ready to prepare myself. But then you said praying for your customers, praying for those that you're going to interact with, that you can do what you need to do to help them, to be there for them. And I think it's, you know, again, in our prayer life, using prayer to do that, but in our work life, you know, as well, and making that be our focus, remembering that when we show up at a customer's house, or they walk in that doorway, whatever the situation is, that it's not, yeah, we all need to make a living, right? But if we make that the focus, I think we're going to ruin our businesses quickly. So it's not, just make it the focus of getting them where they need to be. Prioritize God. I don't know how to top that. That's kind of right in there, right? But you also said prioritize your actions. And so taking that and putting that into place, I think that's a great step. If anybody out there is like, how do I get more? How do I get myself going as an entrepreneur? I think these simple things, they can be taken from the spiritual life. They can be placed straight to the business life. I like the combination of the two myself.
Yeah.
But depending on where that person is in their journey, it's still going to help them by focusing on their business for a while without interruption, by focusing on the people that they're dealing. Who are your customers? How are you serving them? And by having a goal greater than yourself to focus on as well, that we're doing. For me, for you, I know that's God, that's Christ, whatever that is, and then prioritizing actions daily instead of, I'm guilty of running around with like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to just put out fires. At the end of the day, realizing I didn't help us at all. Right. And do that. So anyway,
and I have an exercise for people who are trying to be more aware of their priorities, because a lot of times we are prioritizing things that we don't realize. We think we're just getting on social media a little bit, and then we end up being on it way more often. So, list 10 things that you would love to be like your main priorities. A list of 10 things that you want to be your priorities. And then list 10 things that you spend the most time doing, and compare the lists. What's different? A lot of times they're pretty different, which they shouldn't be. They should be the same thing.
I don't, they should, I agree they should. I think for most of us, most of the time, if we sat down and did them honestly, there'd be some things. The more you do it though, the more they can come in.
Right. That's the goal. The goal is to get them as similar as possible.
As a line. Yeah. And there's a lot of exercises. I like that exercise. There's a lot of exercises like that where you want to know what's important to you. Where's your time? Where's your time? So, all right, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Profiting from Your Passion podcast. I'm David Wooten. You can check more on me. We'll have some information about Reed on the write-up. You can also find me at davidwooten.com. And speaking of spelling names right, David, Wooton, no E's.
It's a fun name.
No E's in Wooten, .com. Check it out, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Sweet.